The beautiful queen. As sentient beings navigate through samsara, the cycle of rebirths and deaths, they are sometimes born in hellish realms and sometimes in exalted, blissful realms, depending on the karmic actions they made during their lifetimes. Some have done good karma deeds in all their lives, so that they experience dukkha to a much lesser degree than most other beings. Such was the life of Khema, who was born to royalty and privilege in Lord Gautama Buddha's time. She was born to King Sakla, ruler of Kingdom of Mata, more than 2,500 years ago, in what is now India. It was a land that enjoyed good climate and fertile soil. As a result, the people were healthy, strong and good-looking. But before the time the princess was born, the country was torn by strife. Due to skirmishes near their villages, the people were constantly on the run, unable to live peacefully and work the land. Disease and famine soon followed. However, things took a turn for the better after the little princess was born. Hostilities ceased. The people were able to live in peace and made their living. The king and queen believed that their daughter's birth heralded a good fortune for the kingdom, so they named her Khema, meaning bliss. When she was of age, the beautiful princess became the queen of King Bambisara, the emperor of the Magadha Empire. King Bambisara was one of the most powerful and wealthiest kings of his day, ruling over a vast empire, with many vassal states under his control. She was doted upon and pampered by the king and other members of the royal household. The young and beautiful queen was obsessed with beauty. She spent all her time and effort on trying splendid clothes and dazzling jewelry. At about that time Lord Gautama Buddha was residing in Rajgir, the capital city of Magadha. Queen Khema's husband, the king, was a devout disciple of Buddha. He listened to Buddha's sermons, practiced meditation methods he learned from Buddha and even donated his private bamboo grove park to be used as a monastic sanctuary for Buddha and his growing number of bhikkhus, monks. The king's gardeners transformed the park into a garden with flowering plants, lily ponds, and little houses for the monks, and an assembly hall. It became known as the Veluvan Monastery or the Bamboo Grove Monastery. But the vivacious young queen never visited the monastery. She thought the Lord's sermons were solemn and boring. The main reason was that she, and other fashionable beauties of the kingdom avoided Buddha. In his teachings, the Lord always denounced attachment to physical beauty. Underneath the beautiful and perfumed facade, he would preach, lies a filthy body, full of decaying matter, always excreting smelly bodily wastes. What is there to be attached to? King Bimbisara urged her to visit Lord Buddha, but she always gave reasons not to go. She never even came out of her chamber to meet Buddha when he visited the palace. The king was not pleased with his queen's misdemeanor, so he devised a plan. He ordered his minstrels to compose songs about the splendor of the Veluvan Forest Monastery and perform them for the queen. After watching several times, the queen became interested and yearned to see for herself how refreshing and pleasant the grove had turned into. The king arranged for her to visit and reminded her to pay homage to the Lord as well. She discreetly chose a time when Buddha would be away from the monastery, on his alms round. Little did she know that Buddha was waiting for her at the monastery, instead of going on his alms round. His omnipotent wisdom told him that Khema was not an ordinary sentient being, but one who had pledged and being prophesied by Kassapa Buddha, that at the time of Gautama Buddha's sasana she would become a principal fairy, the most superior. Over countless number of rebirths, she had performed virtuous deeds, practiced Dhamma and had accumulated wisdom, powerful enough to become an arahant. The day came for Queen Khema to visit Veluvan with a retinue of her ladies, in waiting. As they went sightseeing, she saw a young and extremely good-looking monk sitting under a tree meditating and seemed to be in deep concentration. She wondered, why would a person who has youth, vigor and good looks choose the boring and austere life of monk, when he could easily have the pleasures he set his mind to? Remembering that the king had told her not to come back without paying obeisance to the Buddha, she went to his monastery, feeling sure that Buddha would not be there. But to her surprise, she found Buddha there. Seated near him was the most ravishing beauty she had ever seen, who was fanning Buddha. She couldn't believe her eyes. One thing was that she had always known Buddha to be the one who denounced attachment to the physical beauty, but here he was being fanned by a young and beautiful girl. Another thing was the beauty of the young woman. The queen, who was deemed to be the most beautiful in the land, was herself mesmerized by the beauty of the young girl. Even as she was exchanging pleasantries with Buddha, she could not keep her eyes off her. But as she kept watching, the girl looked older and older. In a few moments, she became a middle-aged woman. Her skin became wrinkled. Her hair became white. Her teeth fell out. She became older and weaker that she could barely hold the fan. She started groaning. Then she fell down dead, due to old age, and as Kima watched, the body decayed and shortly after, turned into a skeleton. Kima was shocked and shaken by this horrific vision and at the same time was able to grasp the full meaning of the message. The Dhamma wisdom and the meritorious actions that she had accumulated over the past lives manifested themselves in that instant. She now realized that the vanity and conceit she had on her beauty and her status were just illusions. Lord Buddha knew at that moment that Kima had attained Dhamma insight to a level that she could understand deeper and more profound Dhamma. He chose a discourse that in her past lives she had learned and even excelled in. He delivered Mahanidana Sutta that explained the law of dependent origination. Firstly, the round of existence starts with the ignorance of the Four Noble Truths. Dependent on ignorance arises kamic actions, dependent on kamic actions arises rebirth-linking consciousness. Dependent on rebirth-linking consciousness arises mind and matter, dependent on mind and matter arise six sense bases, dependent on six sense bases arises contact, with six senses, dependent on contact arises feeling. Dependent on feeling arises craving, dependent on craving arises attachment, dependent on attachment arises rebirth, producing karma/becoming. Dependent on rebirth producing karma arises rebirth, dependent on rebirth arise old age, death, sorrow, lamentation, mourning, bodily pain, grief, despair. This vicious circle is cut off with Dhamma insight, thereby ceasing ignorance. When Buddha finished expounding the law of dependent origination, Queen Kima absorbed the sermon so deeply that she attained the arahantship. Her kamic potential was ripe enough to achieve the highest stage of Dhamma wisdom effortlessly and in a short period of time. When she got back to the palace, she immediately went to the king, her husband, and asked permission from him to leave him and become a bhikkhuni. If a person was told by his wife that she wanted to leave him and become a monk, an ordinary husband would be furious. But not King Bimbisara. He was a devout follower of Buddhist Dhamma and was delighted that his queen had made greatest choice a sentient being can make. She was sent to the Bhikkhuni monastery with pomp and ceremony accompanied by her retinue of bodyguards, ladies, in waiting and serving staff and offerings to Buddha and Sangha. There she was met by Prajapati Gautami Theri. They left her at the monastery and returned to the palace. She was ordained under the supervision of Prajapati Gautami Theri. The two had several things in common. Born princesses, they grew up in the lap of luxury. They became queens after marriage. They were beloved by their subjects. They knew no hardships. They led magnificent lives. Prajapati Gautami was the founder of the Bhikkhuni community, and when she was a queen, she raised the motherless Prince Siddhartha Gautama, the Bodhisattva, as her own son. Kima Theri achieved arahantship after listening to only one discourse and was conferred the title of Supreme among the Bhikkhunis in Dhamma wisdom, and at Dhamma assemblies sat at the right-hand side of Buddha. Despite their privileged upbringing, they chose to live the austere, simple and disciplined life of a bhikkhuni, because they were firmly convinced that existence in any form entails birth, disease, old age, death and loss of loved ones. They both strived for and realized their goals, and after death, there would be no rebirth. On one occasion, king of Kosala, Prasanji learned that Venerable Kima was residing in a forest monastery not far from Sarasvati. He visited her and asked a question that had been unsettling in his mind. He would like to know whether an arahant person was reborn or not, after death. Venerable Kima did not give a direct answer because the question itself was irrelevant and vague. The king was not satisfied, so he went to Buddha, who was staying in Jetavana monastic complex, and asked the same question. Buddha gave exactly the same answer as Venerable Kima. The Lord explained, there is no arahant person, only an aggregate of nama, mind, and rupa. Buddha praised the Dhamma wisdom of Venerable Khema and conferred her the title of Supreme among the Bhikkhunis in Dhamma wisdom. Ever since she joined the Sangha community, Venerable Khema traveled throughout northern India preaching and teaching disciples. Her contribution to the spread of Dhamma was enormous. Several years passed and the day came for her to pass into nirvana. She visited the Lord Buddha to pay her last obeisance. The bhikkhus and bhikkhunis all assembled to hear her recounted her past lives.
During the era of Paduma Buddha, I was born as a rich man's daughter and donated and organized meal donations for Buddha and Sangha that lasted one whole week. During the era of Vipassi Buddha, I was a bhikkhuni who learned and taught Patissa Samuppada, the law of dependent origination. During the era of Kassapa Buddha, I was born as Princess Samani, the eldest daughter of King Kaik. My sisters and me were so pious that we led celibate lives and devoted our time to Dhamma pursuits. I had been born in all heavenly realms, Tavatimsa, Tusita, Yama, Nimanarati and Paranimitta Vasavati. In every human realm I was born as a queen or royalty and never knew suffering. In one life I was a queen to the Kakavardhan, the universal monarch.
Recalling that Buddha had performed a miracle for her to gain Dhamma insight, which finally led her to total liberation, she stated that she had repaid the gratitude she felt towards Buddha by following and practicing his teachings and helping him relentlessly in spreading the Dhamma. She said,
"Just like a captive elephant that has broken loose from the fetters, I am now free from all the defilements and impurities of a sentient being. I have found freedom from the cycle of births and death."
At the end of her last sermon, several bhikkhus and bhikkhunis were awakened to the fact that existence in any form, be it calamitous or glorious, destitute or exalted, can be summed up as dukkha sikha. Venerable Khema had shown them the way, thus motivating them to follow the Noble Eightfold Path more diligently and earnestly. Venerable Khema passed into nirvana peacefully in her modest monastery. End of. The Queen Who Avoided Buddha.